So talk me through, what does the contact process look like? You said ideally get on the phone. You said obviously relentless following up, but like talk me through step by step. What does that look like in, if I've got this list of 100, now I want to do it. I appreciate the first 100 are going to be horrible. I'm probably going to mess it up, but what should I be doing? What does the process look like?
2 biggest tips. Less is more. That's step 1, which just means calling them. Don't give them a spiel about your life, about your business, about how you're going to sell them the world. They've heard that before. Get the conversation started, open an account. That's it. The more specific you can be as well, also good. So I'm Kaja Robinson with XYZ company. I want to buy X product in Y quantity. Could you send me your pricing, right? So it just shows that you've done your research, that you know what you want. And then if you're talking to a sales rep, they'll probably give you that information and then you go from there. If you try in the first conversation to say, hey, I want to be your Amazon growth partner, I want to be the exclusive seller, I'm going to do listing optimization, they're just going to hang up the phone. So in the initial outreach, less is more. Just get the conversation started because there's no trust built. For a brand, especially if it is a small team like I was talking about before, you're normally dealing with the owner or someone close to the owner. They have a lot invested financially, probably, and emotionally in the brand. So for them to give someone exclusivity, there needs to be a high degree of trust. And that just takes time to build, which is part of the reason you need to follow up so long. But in the beginning, there's no trust. So if you try and pitch them on those things, even if they think it sounds like a good idea, they're not going to go for it. So you got to kind of start slow and then build that rapport over time. So less is more in the beginning. And then and this kind of goes together with follow-up, is asking good questions. If you are just about me, like I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do this for you, I want exclusivity, I want this pricing, you're not going to get very far. You need to be genuinely interested in the brand. You need to ask them what their pain points are, what their goals are. And then once you have that established, then you can tailor your pitch to be specifically tailored to solving those pain points and helping them reach their goals.
Okay, interesting. So you talked about it earlier. You said like get on the phone. This list of 100 I've got, am I literally like go find the number, give them a call, or is that exactly all I'm doing? And then just have that pitch like that, short, concise. Hi, this is Tom. I want to buy this product, this quantity. Can you give me a price list? Is that all I'm doing?
Yep.
Fantastic. And question for you,
or just maybe just to add a little bit to that is just asking, like, because if you do call, the likelihood that you're going to get to the right person right away is probably low. So saying what you want and then asking, are you the right person to talk to about this, or can you forward me to the person who can help me with this?
Fine. Okay. Yep. And one of the big things I know about myself and also other entrepreneurs is how many per day or per hour of these calls should we be doing? Like, what does a good day's work look like in brand direct kind of contacting? Is it like, I've done 5 today, I'm super happy? Or would you be like, no, Tom, you need to work a bit harder?
Yeah. So there are different philosophies on this. Mine is just set a goal, a daily goal that you can achieve every day for at least a month.
Okay.
So some people just have that energy and they're just going to go make 25 calls every day and just get to 1,000 brands really quickly. Those people are going to have a lot of success. Most people are not going to do that. So in the beginning, I tell people to start with 3 to 5 calls per day and then just continue to do that until you have the amount of accounts open that you need.
Okay, fine. So a couple of calls a day, just keep going, get the practice, learn from it. And then you talked about follow-up there. What is defined follow-up and what does that look like?
Yes. So calling them again and again and again and again. I also so if the situation is you call them, they don't pick up the phone, send an email immediately after the phone call. So it's like, hey, just called, left you a voice message. And then also just say what you said on the phone about what product you want, what the quantity that you're looking for is. And then they might respond to the email. Then you can, email them back and forth, ask to get on the call later. Or I normally like to give 2 to 4 business days, just depending. Normally, the next business day can be pretty aggressive. Sometimes it's just if they're busy, they'll still get back to you. So I like to give at least 48, 72 hours before making the second follow-up call. And then if I do have a conversation with someone and I can tell that it's not like a super hard no, which a super hard no would be like, so in health and household, for example, some products you need to have a doctor's license. I'm not a doctor, so I can't sell that. Hard no, move on. Or if they already have their own exclusive seller, then okay, moving on. But other than those, it's even if it's a no, it's probably can be negotiated, right? So then those are the ones where I'm just going to be like, all right, this is going in my follow-up section. And then if I've had those initial like one or two conversations and I know it's not going to get anywhere quickly, then I'll just reach out maybe once a month, once a quarter, and just continually do that until they break down.
Cool. And when you do those like follow-up reach outs, what does that conversation look like?
Sure. So I always like to leave off asking, can I follow up in X amount of time? Very rarely do they say no. And then when I follow up, I just say, hey, this is Kaja with XYZ company. I'm just checking in. Has anything changed with your Amazon strategy? I like to look at their listing and say, hey, like this is what's changed about what's going on in Amazon since the last time we talked. Maybe it's now there are more resellers than before. Maybe their pricing is tanked. If they're concerned about MAP, which is minimum advertised pricing, and sellers are doing that, it's like, hey, last time you said that you had a guy who was going to help you, get rid of all unauthorized sellers and get your pricing back up to MAP. He hasn't done that. What's going on? Like those sort of things.
So it sounds, and do you follow up with emails just to like have that, like you're in their inbox as well, like after you've had the call and have that record, or is that something you do?
Following up with email is good, especially if it's a person who you've already talked with on the phone. So I'm not against email. Like I do tons and tons of email. But in terms of building rapport and overcoming objections and, hearing tonality in people's voices, like you're going to need to get on the phone. If you're only on, it's a no. I forget who said this, and I'm sure multiple people have said it, but a no via email always sounds like no. A no on the phone does not always sound like no. And so you got to get on the phone so that way you can figure out if it's really a no or not.
Yeah, you can hear it in the kind of like tone of voice. You're like, exactly. No, not right now. Sorry. You're like, oh, well, when? Like it didn't sound too certain. Exactly. Like emails like, no.